Verse 628. Having no self-nature, being unborn, being empty, being like Maya, being free from defilements. To whom is this taught by the Buddhas as well as by yourself? We've got a list of terms here, and I wonder how easy you find it to relate to them. Having no self-nature, being unborn, being empty, being like Maya. They're all terms that we've come across, that we're familiar with, or that we've at least heard to some extent. But do we make a personal connection with them? Especially this one, being like Maya, which seems a bit strange. Self-nature, being unborn, being empty, we're often told this is how things are. It's how the world is, it's how we are. But being like Maya, Maya is the force, the power of delusion. But it's actually simply consciousness in operation. When consciousness is doing its thing, it automatically enters into delusion. But when we realize the true nature of consciousness, we're free from defilements. I suspect there might be a progression here, progression of deepening realization, as we often get with these lists, from self-nature to being free from defilements. But I'm going to focus on this last question. To whom is this taught by the Buddhas? As well as by yourself, as well as by you, this current Buddha. To whom is this taught? I've been producing these videos and just getting on with them regardless. And it's been very nice that some people have connected with them and seem to be getting something out of it. It's very gratifying. But I wasn't sure if that would happen when I started doing these videos. It was my hope. But I appreciate how these videos appear. What somebody might think when they perhaps glance at my YouTube channel page or one of the video indexes. They don't exactly welcome you in. In fact, they might look intimidating. There's so many of them. There's so much obscure language, so many obscure terms, like the terms in this verse, that we don't naturally relate to. And I've done my best to show that many of these terms are intrinsic to our immediate experience, and that we can relate to them. We just have to look at what's going on right here, right now, and see if we can apply any of these terms to it as a way of highlighting what is going on right here, right now. And what I mean by right here, right now, is what is going on at the level of what it means to be alive, or to simply be, to be sentient, or whatever. Anyway, in the previous video, we started developing in a certain direction. I spoke about what the verse described as the truth of solitude. And it's very easy to get the wrong idea about this. You know, like, It's kind of encouraging you to go and live in a little cottage somewhere by yourself. And this isn't what's meant at all. This solitude should really be spelled with a capital S, as it was right at the very beginning, in the verse that I devoted the first video to. Solitude spelled with a capital S. And I touched rather nervously on the possibility that we can be free in our feelings, free in our moods. It doesn't matter what is going on in the world. It doesn't matter what is going on in our body. Why let that determine anything? We can be happy. I compared this with the situation in our sleep. It's just us, or just me, or just you, fast asleep, you and your own mind. Why not have the most wonderful dreams conceivable? In fact, every night should be an opportunity to have the most incredible, ecstatic, joyous, sublime of dreams, rather than just worrying about how you're going to get back home because you forgot to put your trousers on or something. So that was the comparison. There's really no reason why we need to take our cue for how we feel from what is going on. It just so happened, shortly after I recorded that video, maybe the same night even, I was doing a night shift, and during a quiet moment I was browsing an online newspaper, reading an article in an online newspaper, and there was a reference made to somebody called Epictetus. Epictetus. Epictetus was a philosopher in ancient Greece. Born in 55 AD in Turkey. Epictetus was a slave. He was born a slave and he grew up in Rome. But his master allowed him to study philosophy, and he eventually moved to northern Greece, where he established a bit of a reputation for himself. Anyway, this article gave a quotation from Epictetus, which I wrote down. And the quotation is this: "Your will needn't be affected by an incident unless you let it." How simple is that? Your will. I think by will we can just understand our moods, our intentions, our feelings. Your will needn't be affected by an incident unless you let it. Well, this was like a bolt from the blue. I said I rather nervously touched on the possibility that our moods, our feelings, our thoughts, our intentions need not be determined by what is going on in the world or in our body. I'm nervous about it because it confronts my basic psychological patterns. It dispels my own personal drama of being something of a martyr to this life of pain. And I wondered if this is actually possible. Am I pushing a possibility here which I'm not actually capable of realizing myself? This is the possibility of happiness. And then here was this quote from Epictetus. Anyway, I just thought I need to find out more about Epictetus, so I better do some research, which meant looking up Wikipedia, where there's a very good, well-written, informative article about the philosopher. He's described as a Stoic. Stoicism's got, it's not a very good word in English because it's got this association of having to grin and bear it, which isn't what it's about at all. But I think I'm going to leave talking about Epictetus till another time. Because I need to do a little bit more research, and I'm actually very excited about this, about encountering Epictetus. Because what we've got here is a possibility of entering into these teachings, of entering into enlightenment practice without using a lot of these terms. Self-nature, being unborn, being empty, being like Maya, which kind of leaves you scratching your head a bit. Whereas Epictetus gives us a very practical approach from the ground up. It makes me wonder if he himself was an enlightenment practitioner. He was practicing the transcendental, perhaps without realizing it. So that's an interesting possibility. And it means also that perhaps these teachings can be opened up. Perhaps the teachings of enlightenment practice can be opened up to people in general. If the promise of Epictetus' teachings bear fruit. He didn't actually write anything himself. His teachings were collected by one of his pupils, and there's a handbook of these teachings which consists of aphorisms. It's quite short. So there's tremendous promise here which I'm quite excited about. And I might devote a video or two to the teachings of Epictetus in due course. But to answer the question, to whom is this taught by the Buddhas as well as by yourself, we can look to verse 629. For the sake of the Yogins who are pure in mind, spiritual discipline, or yoga, is taught by the Buddhas who are free from theories and speculations, and such is also proclaimed by me. So the point here, it's practical teaching. This is a practical teaching. Epictetus is described as a philosopher. And that philosopher, and that term philosopher, has been downgraded from very early times, from the times of the Lankavatara Sutra, which was written down a few hundred years after Epictetus. The term philosopher has been debased, and the fact is we're actually all philosophers, because we've all got a philosophical outlook. The thing is, most of us haven't actually examined it, or we're not even aware of our own philosophical outlook. And we've got these people called philosophers who write books and teach in universities. But really, they should be called philosophists, because they're concerned with theories and speculations. Somebody like Epictetus lived his philosophy. He practiced his philosophy. If you do not practice your philosophy, then you're a philosophist at best. So we should be quite clear about this distinction between philosophers and philosophists, and try to reclaim the true meaning of philosopher. In a way, the Enlightenment practitioner is a true philosopher. They're putting into practice from moment to moment their understanding. So Epictetus seems like one of these individuals that the human race is better off for the fact that he existed. And I look forward to telling you more about him in due course.